Financial Argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Bad news, the newly released economic data forecasts a collapse. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, I've been talking about gold as a signal that we're approaching the collapse scenario. And if you notice, since December up to this point, we see that the central bank, they're having a tougher and tougher time suppressing the gold prices. And every time they try to bring it down, it seems like it pops up even further. And this is what we're seeing right now. Gold is up between $17 and $20 per ounce. It's fluctuating right now. But as we can see, gold has not dropped. Actually, gold is continually moving upward. And we see, once we start to see gold move up, in increments of 80, 90, 100, 110, silver to follow, this is a sign that things are starting to rapidly fall apart. We know already the economic indicators that are continually coming out are showing us that things are not going well. We see that more and more companies, they are laying off people. Things are getting worse. UConn Health Center laying off about 89 people. Allegheny Technologies laying off 250. Nordstrom's, the retailer, up to 400 people going to be laid off. Seadrill Americas, 112. Sport Chalet, they are closing all of their stores, 30 stores, and they're going to stop online sales. So what we're seeing right now is Sports Authority, Sport Chalet, and many other stores that we've been reporting on, they are closing because what we're seeing right now is the people, as they continually get laid off, they don't have the funds to go out and purchase retail. Now, we see that the central bankers, the U.S. government, they have the ability to manipulate a lot of different things. They can manipulate manufacturing to GDP. They can manipulate unemployment. They can manipulate inflation. They can manipulate the stock market. And this is what they've been doing. They want this illusion alive because the economy is deteriorating so quickly at this point. And we're going to see more of this because up until the very end, up until everything starts to fall apart, they're going to make the economy look like it is absolutely incredible. There is nothing to worry about. They did this back in 2008. When everything was starting to fall apart, there was no forecast of any recession. They pumped the market back up. Everyone had all their eyes pointing to the stock market. Everything was fine. Back in 1929, everyone thought the same exact thing. And here we are today. We are seeing the same exact signs. Now, since the crash of 2008, we have seen absolutely nothing improve. Well, if you look at their statistical information, they can try to convince us that things are improving, but look at retail. Has that really improved? No. We're seeing a lot more stores close, a lot more people being laid off. Corporate earnings? No. Corporate sales? No. Housing? It has gone absolutely nowhere. Actually, housing today is a complete disaster. U.S. housing starts, they tumbled by 8.8% in March. Now, they only thought it was going to go down negative 1.1. Completely missed the expectations. We see the single family and we see multifamily units also have tumbled. The single family has come down by negative 9.2. Multifamily units, negative 7.9. The biggest drop was in the West. That was negative 16%. And we see that permits have plunged by 7.7%. And this, at this point, is the second biggest month-on-month crash since January of 2011. So what are we seeing right now? We are seeing that the housing market, as we move into the spring, going into the summer, is already not doing well. Now, we know it's not the weather. We know that's not the problem. The problem is that more and more people are being laid off. A lot of people in the companies who are still working, they're hearing rumors. They're afraid. They're hearing, oh, there's another round of layoffs coming. I'm not doing anything at this point. And we're starting to see that this is going to then have ripple effects into the housing market. It's going to have ripple effects into the retail market. It's going to have ripple effects into the student loan, automobile market. And we're already starting to see this. We're starting to see that what is happening in this country, and we've been tracking this for a very long time. This is not unexpected. This is not a surprise. We have been looking at all of this data, and we've been tracking it since the beginning. And what we are seeing is a slow decline of the economy. They continually manipulate the statistical information, but we look through that and we see the real information, and it's showing that things are not going as they are telling us. Actually, it's going the opposite way. Now, there are signs in the labor market that everything is starting to lose momentum. Now, when we look at temporary help, temporary employment, we see that it has peaked in the last two recessions. And we are seeing right now it has peaked once again. And it is showing signs that it's topping out. And Bob Funk, who is a 75-year-old, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Express Employment Professionals, he is saying that our industry is always on the front end of a recession. And what is going on right now is showing signs that the economy is getting weaker and weaker. Temporary help employment fell in 2 of the past 3 months and is down 1.8% so far this year. In the run-up to 2001, provisional employment peaked 11 months before the downturn began. The lag before the Great Recession of 2007-2009 was 16 months. And here we are today. We are seeing the same exact signs. We are pointing to a complete disaster. It is on its way. Actually, a lot of people are already living through it. A lot of countries are already in this global collapse. The U.S. right now, they're trying to continually keep this illusion alive. And the Obama administration, the Fed, they're doing whatever they possibly can to make everyone believe that everything is fine. They need to do this up until the very last minute. They did it back in 2008. Remember? Everything is fine. Housing won't go down. Everything's contained. Subprime, don't worry about it. Not forecasting a recession. Larry Young, real estate's going to bounce back any minute. None of it happened. The stock market doesn't even make sense today. I know it hit 18,000 points and over. But when we look at corporate earnings, when we look at corporate sales, it doesn't translate. This is how you know things are manipulated. Goldman, their earnings have plunged by 55%. Worst quarter since 2011. IBM, the lowest revenue in 14 years. I mean, it is so bad right now. More and more companies are coming out, and we're starting to see that their earnings, a complete disaster. Right now, we see that IBM has 16 consecutive quarters of declining revenue. What does that tell us? That tells us that this economy is completely fake, because we're not just seeing it from the IBM. We're seeing it from many, many other companies. A lot of retailers, we're seeing this. We're seeing it from Caterpillar. And it's really starting to look like 2008 all over again. And when we look at company defaulting on their debt, well, this has hit the highest level not seen since the financial crisis. So far this year, 46 companies have defaulted on their debt, the highest level since 2009. And this is coming from S&P Rating Service. 5 companies defaulted this week based on the latest data. And what we're seeing right now is that of these companies, 37 of them are here in the United States. And the smart money, which we've been talking about, they realize that this is completely an illusion. That's why Bank of America clients, once again, for the 12th week in a row, they were net sellers of U.S. stocks. They've sold off about $1.36 billion worth. So if they're selling off, who's buying? Corporations. They're buying back their stock. This is going to end up in a complete disaster. Now, the watchdog out of Canada, they're looking at the global economic outlook. And they're reporting that this is bleaker than before. And the report is coming from the Parliamentary Budget Office. And we're starting to hear from a lot of countries where they're saying that the global economy is tanking right now. It's a lot worse than everyone is saying. And what we're seeing at this point is that things are rapidly deteriorating. And every time we touch on these economic indicators, we see that things are sliding further and further south. They're getting worse. It's not getting better. More and more retailers are closing. We see more and more jobs are being lost. And the only thing that the central bank and the U.S. government have left is to continually push the stock market up. This is all they have left. Now, we realize that a lot of this is moving from west to east because we know that China, and Russia, they're duplicating the SWIFT payment system. They're going to have their own. We see China right now is launching today their yuan-denominated gold benchmark. And this is basically to take more control over the pricing of the metal. Now, think about what they're doing at this point. They have purchased gold at very low prices because, as we know, the central bank is continually manipulating gold and silver. We know that Deutsche Bank and other banks were involved in this, but we know the main culprit is the central bank. And as they continually push the gold lower, China, Russia, and many other countries stepped in and bought a lot of it. And what they're going to do at this point is take control of the gold market. I think this is their angle at this point, where they want full control, because eventually what they're going to do is push gold up to where it's supposed to be. Not the suppressed levels, but the gold level of today. And this is going to be much higher. Now, they have these gold holdings. We don't know exactly how much China is, but we know it's quite a bit. Russia has quite a bit. And this is going to boost their earnings. Now, we know the U.S. at this point most likely has no gold at all. We haven't had an audit since, I think, the 50s or so. So at this point, if there was really gold, they would have done an audit. I mean, the cost of doing an audit is minuscule compared to everything else the United States government and central bankers spend the funds on. So there's no reason why they haven't had an audit. The only reason they don't want it to happen is because people would find out there's nothing there. And as we know, countries like Germany and many others have been asking for their gold back. And the Fed was kind of hesitant in sending it back. Now, it took a while. Some countries still haven't received it. And this tells us that most likely, most of this gold does not exist anymore. Now, the countries that are ramping up with gold, they're going to be okay. It's an insurance policy. And this is why here in the United States, people, they don't really own gold or silver. Maybe in jewelry. But this is something that everyone should have to protect their wealth. Because as the dollar continually declines, gold, silver will be some type of insurance policy where it will protect you against a fiat currency that is dying out. Now, everyone's like, well, no, the dollar will be here forever. No, it won't. Go back in time. What currencies are here? The only thing that lasted over thousands and thousands of years is gold and silver. All the other paper currencies, they're gone. Don't exist anymore. And we can see from all these economic indicators that things are starting to rapidly fall apart. And as we move forward, going into the rest of the spring, going into the summer, we're going to see this accelerate. It is not going to get better. More retailers are going to close. More companies are going to lay off. And it's going to accelerate. It's like the compound effect. Once the snowball is rolling down the hill, it gets bigger, it gains speed, and it just gets worse and worse and just demolishes everything in its path. This is what we are seeing right now, and this is why everyone has to be prepared. This is why you need to go out and get your food right now, because we're going to see hyperinflation. You don't want to be running around saying, okay, my dollar is worth less and less and less. People are running to the market trying to get the food and supplies. You got to have medical supplies. You got to have a weapon to protect your family. You need to have gold and silver on hand. Yes, you still need cash on hand. If you haven't started, you can go to lifereliance.com. They have bug out bags, water filtration systems. You can customize your order. But whatever you're doing, you need to continually do it. I mean, just the other day, I went onto Amazon and I purchased a water filtration system that I can stick into a pond or lake, and I can pump out fresh water. And these are all the things that I use for survival, because I don't know if I will need to move from my location if something goes down. And I'm just trying to get prepared and have all these supplies ready to go. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Don't stop, because we don't know what's going to happen when this entire system completely falls apart. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.